Hello and welcome to another Tri-tutors video. In today's video we're going to be analysing Sonnet 130 by William Shakespeare. Our poet is William Shakespeare. He lived between 1564 and 1616. He is one of the most famous poets and playwrights. He wrote 154 sonnets and he is known as the Bard. So just a quick background on what a sonnet is. So we have two different types of sonnets. This sonnet is an English or Shakespearean sonnet. It is comprised of 14 lines and it's split into 3 quatrains and a rhyming couplet. So 3 quatrains meaning 3 different sections, lines of 4 each, and then a rhyming couplet at the end, 2 lines that match. This is a part of the structure which I'll discuss at the end of the video, but it's important just going ahead into the explanation and into the analysis to have a basic understanding of what the sonnet is. So let's begin with the first quatrain. So, my mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, why then her breasts are dun? If hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. So before we actually even analyze this first quatrain, let's figure out what this poem is all about, because it seems, as we read the first quatrain, it seems to be quite different from what we'd expect from a sonnet. A sonnet is typically a poem that details some sort of loving relationship. It's usually some sort of ode or praise of a lover. And here we are seeing this as sort of the complete opposite. So we can understand this poem in two ways fundamentally. So one way we can understand this is that his mistress or his beloved is not conventionally beautiful, and so he's going to detail how she is not conventionally attractive, but then at the final 2 lines in the rhyming couplet he's going to say that he still loves her, and it's not really about her looks, it's more about her personality. But on a deeper level, this poem actually seeks to critique and mock other love poems for their hyperbolic metaphors and cliches that do not accurately represent women. So in this poem you will see the sort of crazy similes and metaphors that other poets use to describe their beloveds, and Shakespeare here is saying that is bizarre and that is inaccurate, and so he is criticizing that. So we can understand it in 2 different strands. So I think now it makes a lot more sense, and he's not just going on this whole critical rant, which it seems like the first 3 quatrains, it's like, oh my god, what is he saying? It's such a terrible poem, because he's basically insulting his lover. But then at the rhyming couplet we'll see the twist, and we'll see how he's actually critiquing and sort of mocking this idea that women have to be a certain way, or are conventionally beautiful and are sort of godly instead of earthly. So the first line, my mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. So notice throughout this quatrain, the speaker details features of the beloved that are usually praised by other poets. So other poets would praise each feature of the lover, and so Shakespeare mimics that. He uses nothing, which is a really strong word, and in the second line he uses far. So he's using the extreme for emphasis to show that his lover is absolutely not indicative of these cliches. My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. So here we have a simile, a comparison to the sun. If we think about what the sun represents, the sun symbolizes something bright, warm, powerful, that's even life-giving. And so Shakespeare here, or the speaker, we rather say the speaker when we speak about the poem, resists cliched metaphors and argues that his beloved is far from godly, she is earthbound and human. And through doing this, he elucidates, he clarifies how bizarre and untrue or inaccurate these cliches truly are. So he says, his mistress's eyes are not like the sun at all. Coral is far more red than her lips red. So once again we discuss using that extreme. Notice the repetition of red to really emphasize how they are definitely not red at all. If snow be white, why then her breasts are dun? Dun is a dull grey-brown color. If hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. And so you can see that this is a bit of hyperbole. Black wires grow on her head, that's not entirely accurate. That is a bit of a figurative language. Notice the emphasis on color in these lines. He utilizes the different senses in the poem so that the reader is fully immersed in, what he's trying to say. Moving on to stanza 2, quatrain 2. I have seen roses damasked red and white, but no such roses see I in her cheeks, and in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. So the first line, I have seen roses damasked, that means decorated or patterned with red and white, and we know you have red roses, white roses, but also combined they are pink, and that's typically how a cliched love poem would describe their lover's cheeks, as being, rosy and pink. And so he says he's seen roses that are, red, white, pink, but no such rose I see in her cheeks. So he invokes a classic image of love with the use of roses, and he also uses the color of the roses to show that her cheeks do not resemble that. And in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. Notice the enjambment for these lines. So enjambment, the run-on lines, the one sentence or the one line is continuing to the next because it's one point being made over here. And so he says that, there's sometimes in love poems, there's this hyperbolic language that is used that sort of makes the lover seem godly, and he goes, no, she's not. Her breath actually really stinks. She is human. She is not a goddess in any way. The word reeks is quite hyperbolic though, because it's the connotations of reeks are quite severe. So he says, no, her breath does not smell like perfume. It actually smells more earthly, more realistic. It actually doesn't smell very good at all. The third quatrain. I love to hear her speak, yet well I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. I grant I never saw a goddess go. My mistress when she walks treads on the ground. So this I love, I think, is a little hint to the final couplet, where we're going to see he actually still really loves his mistress. And so that's a little hint for what's coming in the big twist. And so he says, I love to hear her speak, but I know that music sounds better. So he's saying her voice is not musical. It's, he loves to speak with her, but it's not musical or it's not godly. And he says, he admits, I grant I never saw a goddess go. I admit I haven't seen a goddess move, but he's implying here, but if I think about how a goddess would move, she would glide. She wouldn't tread on the ground. She wouldn't actually walk, right? She would be sort of this airy figure gliding. He says, but my mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. But his lover, when she walks, she treads on the ground. And if you think of the connotations of treads, it's make a mark, it's to deliberately step. She is earthly. So this reference to the ground shows that she is earthly. She makes a sound as she moves. So she's not this cliched figure that people or that poets have come up with in the past. She is a real person. And now we get to the twist, we get to the rhyming couplet. And yet, by heaven, I think my love is rare, as any she belied with false compare. And so here we have yet, and this is the change of tonal message. Some versions even have an indent for these two lines to show that this is the twist. And so he says here, I think my beloved is as special as any woman who poets have lied about with false comparisons. So we can understand in that regard, or we can understand it as even though she does not fit in with the societal standards of beauty and love, the speaker loves her dearly and their love is special and true. So we can understand that as much as she does not conform or does not actually emulate any of these metaphors and comparisons that love poets have, or poets have claimed to feel about their lovers, their love is true. And ultimately, he's saying that all those cliched metaphors are perhaps false. So in terms of the structure, as we said, this is an English or Shakespearean sonnet. And remember, sonnets are usually about praising the beloved, and this is subverted in this poem. 14 lines, 3 quatrains and a rhyming couplet. So the 3 quatrains outline and develop the argument in inverted commas. They outline the poet's or the speaker's way of thinking. And then the rhyming couplet concludes everything, and it also summarizes and provides a twist, perhaps. The rhyme scheme: A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, GG, so GG is that rhyming couplet, and it is written in iambic pentameter. Iambic pentameter mirrors everyday speech patterns, and it's when you have 10 syllables on a line, and it is 5 stressed syllables, 5 unstressed. You start with the unstressed syllable, and then you alternate between the stressed and the unstressed. The tone of the poem is assertive, reflective, sincere, candid. At times, with certain elements, it's sarcastic, ironic, or mocking. The mood is somewhat humorous and reflective. The theme and the message, it's about the cliches about love. They are mocked and seen to be untrue with regard to the speaker's love. And as well as appearance is perhaps unimportant and does not determine love and relationships. Perhaps there are other aspects that are more significant. I hope that was helpful. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.